This isn't actually a video on acting, or, well, I guess it kind of is. How many times have you tried to change a behavior, but you weren't able to change that behavior? Maybe a week goes by, 2 weeks, 3 if you're lucky, but then it goes back to the way that it was. It goes back to normal. It goes back to the preset that it's in. If you've seen any of my past videos, you know that your childhood shapes your personality. It shapes who you are. In fact, you could go as far as to say it creates who you are. At a young age, usually ages 0 to 6, 7, 8, something like that, you're technically in a hypnotic state. You're in that theta state. So you are absorbing everything, and then that is developing your identity. That's not to say that your identity stops at age 8 and you are who you are, although it does. I mean, that is the majority of who you're going to be, and then obviously it continues to develop throughout the rest of your life. However, you're kind of on this preset program that was created at such a young age, and then you go out into the world and then you follow your preset program and you're saying, why can't I be this way? Why am I this way? Why can't I change the way that I am? Well, I'm here to tell you that you can change the way that you are. There are 4 ways to change that subconscious programming, as it's called, or that conditioning. There's hypnosis, there's repetition, there's psyche, and there's trauma. Now, there might be more than that, but those are the 4 that I know about. So go back to trying to transform your behaviors. Now, this is what happens. We try and transform our behaviors and act a different way. Sorry, there's a floaty. We try and act a different way and have different outcomes in our life. But the truth is, if you just change your habits, if you just change your behaviors, they're going to go back to the way they were because you're not changing yourself. And that's the key. Your identity, right? Your beliefs, your thoughts, all, your personality, your temperament, all this, it creates your behaviors. And then on the outside of that, you have your results or your environment. Your life is a direct reflection of your beliefs. So there are 2 things that need to take place. The first one is observation and transformation. Transforming your identity is not an easy thing to do. People have been studying this for thousands of years, trying to figure out how to change who they are. Why do I do the things that I don't want to do, and why don't I do the things that I do want to do? So, the first one is observing your beliefs. When you are doing something you know you don't want to be doing, I mentioned people pleasing, setting boundaries, maybe going with the wrong crowd, stuff like that. When you're doing these things, ask yourself, what is driving this? What is the belief that is driving me in this direction? So you need to observe the beliefs that are stopping you from doing the things you want to do, or that are causing you to do the things that you don't want to do. Once you observe them, then you can start transforming those beliefs. Well, how do you want to believe about it? How do you want to look at the situation? What do you want to believe about the situation? And once you know how you want to look at the situation, now you have what they call your mantra, your affirmation. You have your self-talk and what you need to be saying to yourself every single time that this situation comes up. Because every single situation that you're in, that you are stepping out of your frame. If you don't know what that is, go look at my last video. But anytime that you're stepping out of who you want to be, that is a test. That is a moment, a teachable moment or a learnable moment. It's a moment where you can say, you know what, I'm sick of being this person. It's time to start implementing how I want to believe. It's time to start implementing how I want to think about this situation. Now, It's scary. You'll have a lot of anxiety, fear, and there's a big difference between fear and anxiety. Fear is that you open up the door and there's a bear. Ah, that's fear. You close the door. Now you have anxiety. How am I going to deal with this? Right. Okay, whatever. I digress on that. So the first one is observing your beliefs and then trying to transform those beliefs within your mind, because everything does start with you. It's not all about you. It's not about narcissism and selfishness, but it does start with you. So the first one is the observation, obviously, and then the transformation of the beliefs, implementing that self-talk, your mantras, your affirmations, all that. So the other one, okay, there's another way to look at this. When actors, let's go to the acting, right? Because I said it wasn't really about acting, but it kind of is about acting. Actors do this a lot. Let's say in a scene where they have to be angry, dramatic, when they have to be happy, when they have to, cry, stuff like that. They conjure up the feelings. Like, we are actually more in control of our feelings than we think we are. But there are tricks that you can do that start to evoke those feelings within you. There's a couple studies. I like to use these studies as prime examples. But let's take, for example, the pen study, right? So what they did, these researchers, is they got groups of people, and one group, they had them hold the pen in their mouth, wrote like that, and the other one, they held it like that. And then both groups filled out a survey about happiness afterwards. And what they found were the people who held it in their teeth were happier. And it's because they're smiling. See? It's because they're smiling. So it's biofeedback. You are smiling, therefore you're tricking your brain into saying, I'm happy. I'm a happy person. Another one is that these people were, another researchers, they took these groups of people, had them fill out, answer these questions that they didn't really know much about, but some people were just sitting at the desk, kind of hunched over and whatever. The other people, they had them stand up straight, fill out the questionnaire, and then they turned it in, and then they had another questionnaire to fill out about how confident they feel about their answers. What they found is that the people who stood up straight, who had their shoulders back, who showed more confidence just through body language, were more confident mentally, right? So how does this go to identity transformation? Well, if you know what beliefs you are trying to change, it's not only what do I have to be saying, but how would someone act who embodied those beliefs? How would someone act who had those beliefs, right? So let's say someone who's confident. It's not only, I can do this, I'm good, I'm great. That's not what confidence is, by the way. You might not be able to do it. Confidence, by the way, is just doing it knowing you're going to be okay. Like, all right, I'm confident in my answer. It could be wrong, but I'm confident, and that's what I believe it is. Oh, it's the wrong answer. All right, whatever. I'm not going to let it bother me. It's just, okay, wrong answer. Continue on. Keep going. Don't identify with a failure and then let that failure just completely destroy your mental game, which destroys your body posture, which, by the way, ends up reciprocating and recycling through mind, body, spirit, and before you know it, you're depressed, right? The other way around it is, so the alternative is to say that I'm happy, I'm good, I'm golden, I'm where I need to be, I'm how I need to be. If someone doesn't like who I am, if someone doesn't like that, they don't like my answer, okay, whatever, let them be, who they are. And what you do, so the brain is, oh man, the brain is fun. Here's the thing. Let's take anxiety or depression. When all you do is focus on the negative, when all you do is focus on what could happen, the worst case outcome, because this is what anxiety is. Anxiety is trying to prepare you for worst case scenarios. So then your thoughts, which you're not always in control of, continuously come out with these worst case scenarios. And then you start believing these worst case scenarios. You start, so you're making up these stories, and then you're believing these stories, which is affecting your posture, which is affecting your mentality, which is affecting your posture, which is affecting, and then it goes back and forth. You see what I'm saying? So if you know that it's worst case scenario that can happen, but no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And you hold your head up high, and whatever happens, I'm going to be fine. Whatever happens, I'll be good with. It's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good, but I'm going to be okay. And this is called being okay with not being okay, right? And that's a hard thing to do as well. But the stories that you make up in your mind are going to affect what's going on as well. And this is why it's so important to understand that one of the functions of the brain is just to think. And so as the brain thinks, as it's trying to survive, because it's trying to survive, not make you happy, as it's trying to survive, you know this, you observe this, you're aware, you're privy to this, and you say, okay, well, these are horrible thoughts. I'm not going to identify with them. I can't necessarily shut my brain off, but what I can do is start looking at the fact that I'm going to be okay. I can start embodying the energy of someone who is confident and knows they're going to be okay, right? Let's go to boundary setting. You have to set a boundary with someone. Well, it could ruin the relationship. They might think you're a jerk. Who knows what's going to happen? You might mess it up. You might not set a boundary correctly. Okay, so then you kind of get, you kind of close down, you get your posture shifts, right? Well, imagine if you just set the boundary with, this confident posture, confident voice, and you're acting as if you're embodying the energy of someone who would have confidence during the setting of a boundary. And you just act as if, this is where the acting comes in, and you act as if. Many times they don't know any better. Many times they don't realize how scared you are, how anxious you are. They're just seeing, oh, wow, they're very confident in their decision. And so I guess that's what it is. Okay, sorry that I did X, Y, and Z. I will back off, right? The whole point that I'm making, if I'm making a point at all, is that you have to act as if. And once you get a win when you act as if, okay? It doesn't mean it's going to go your way, but it means that you're okay with how it went. Okay, well, that was the first time, but I did it. I put myself out there and I tried it differently. I get a little bit of a different result, or maybe I got a big different result, but I did it differently. You're going to expand your comfort zone. And expanding your comfort zone, doing that, you're going to start changing some beliefs. Like, oh, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. Or, man, that was hard, but I know I can do it now. And so you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're acting as if you're embodying the energy of someone who has that confidence, let's say, since we're focused on confidence right now. And so as you do this, the more you do this, the more your comfort zone goes out, the more your confidence grows, the better you are, the more you believe that you're better, the more that you believe you can do this. So you can do this with boundary setting, you can do this with anxiety, you can do this with depression, you can do this with, fill in the blank, relationships, going up to a guy or a girl and talking, or, talking in front of a crowd, or whatever you have to do. And you just go out and you do it. And now the being okay with not being okay is like sitting with that uncomfortability. Like life in itself is uncomfortable. It just is. Like there's a lot of pain and suffering that takes place. And the more we run from that, the less of resilience that we build up to that. And so the more that we understand this and we can sit there and be okay with that, all the while acting as a person that we want to be, not as the person that we are, because obviously if you're doing this, you're trying to change, who you are, your identity, not just a behavior, but your identity. And so you start acting as the person that you want to be, and eventually you become very comfortable with it. And eventually your beliefs start changing, and eventually your thoughts start changing, and eventually your life starts changing. If this is something that you would like to get help with, or if this is something you want to know more about, feel free to reach out to me. My email is in the description, or leave a comment. I'll get back to you that way as well. Please hit the like button, get that algorithm going for me. Until next time, my friends, until next time.